Hey, YouTube theologians, a blessed Good Friday to you. Pastor Wolfmuller here. I was looking at Twitter. Someone said, hey, Good Friday, you got to read Psalm 22. And that's right. I've been looking at this psalm all week. I commend it to you, and I thought I'd make a quick video on 5 things to notice in Psalm 22. The first is that it starts out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Those are the words that Jesus speaks from the cross. It's the fourth of his 7 sermons from the cross. And you find it in Matthew. It's the fourth word. You find it in Matthew and Mark. In fact, if you're reading Matthew and Mark, it's the only words Jesus says from the cross. And so when Jesus prays this, he's really indicating that he's praying this whole psalm. It's a psalm of his suffering. The second thing to remember is that there's 3 kinds of suffering that Jesus endures. I think I wrote that down here. Yeah, there's a physical suffering, which is what we normally think about, the nails and the beating and everything. But then there's the shame of the cross, which has to do with them gambling for his clothes and the mockery. They stare and they count and they gloat over me. They divide my garments. They say, where does it? Here. This over here in verse 8. He trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him if he delights in him. This kind of mockery. That's the shame of the cross. But the third suffering is the spiritual suffering that he's forsaken. My God, why have you forsaken me? And notice that, and this is the third point, is the spiritual suffering is the main thing. And you can especially see it in the contrast in the first verses, where Jesus is making an argument that he shouldn't be suffering like this. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, by night, and I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned in the praises of Israel. Now look at what happens in verse 4. In you our fathers trusted, they trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were rescued. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not a man. That they, scorned by mankind, despised by the people. Jesus knows that the Lord delivered the fathers, who were even sinners. He knows he hasn't done anything wrong, and yet he's being forsaken by God. That's that spiritual suffering that's indicated by the 3 hours of darkness from noon until 3 o'clock on the first Good Friday, 1,989 years ago. Notice here also how Jesus is surrounded by all his enemies. That's especially the shame. They encompass me, encircle me. The fourth thing to notice, and this is just putting this psalm in the context of the other prayers of Jesus. There's 3 prayers Jesus prays on the cross. The first and the last things he says, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Here, my God, which is a reminder that Jesus is not just suffering the forsakenness and the smiting of his Father, but of God. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He's suffering even his own wrath over sin. So that helps us not fall into the trap of thinking like the Father is the angry and wrathful God and the Son is the nice one. Okay, main thing, point 5. And that is there's a change. The key change happens in the psalm halfway through verse 21, where Jesus is praying, come quickly to my aid, deliver my soul from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog, save me from the mouth of the lion, and then you have rescued me from the horns of the wild oxen. So it goes from a prayer for salvation to a note of deliverance. And this moment right there, between the first and second phrases of Psalm 21, is when the Lord accomplishes our salvation. It's when the atoning suffering is over. It's when Jesus can pray, it is finished. Now he still has to die and be laid in the tomb and raised from the dead on the third day and so forth. But this is when he's filled up his suffering. And then the Lord comes to his relief. And now he's in the midst, not of the bulls of Bashan, but in the midst of his church. It's beautiful. So that's the key and a most wonderful thing. You notice it from the prayer, save me, to the note, you have rescued me. Really fantastic. So may God bless your also reading of Psalm 22 today.